Litecoin, the 12th largest cryptocurrency by market cap, saw some big gains last week, and it could be because people are using Litecoin for Ordinals. Joining us now to discuss is Litecoin Foundation Managing Director Alan Austin. Alan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks you guys for having me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's talk about what's happening with Litecoin. Ordinals are coming from Bitcoin to Litecoin and Doge. What is your reaction?
Yeah, so obviously we've experienced a large uptick in transaction volume. I think it's in part it's because of a couple of different things. I think one of it is largely in part with Ordinals and now seeing LTC20 tokens and being experimented on the Litecoin network. And the other part of it, I think, also is because we've seen a situation where Bitcoin fees have become so high that people will have also moved over to Litecoin to use it just to move value and to transact. Because it has consistently been significantly cheaper, and it's still and liquidity is there, so it's basically on every exchange and it's easily readily available. So we're sort of seeing two different things happening, and that's really kind of exploded transaction count over the last couple of weeks.
Do you know how many Litecoin Ordinals have been inscribed on the chain?
Yeah, I think we're approaching about 3 million. I took a look this morning. Not quite there, but it's pretty wild. It's definitely been something interesting, that they sort of just really kind of blew up just recently.
So, what would you say is the sales proposition, or whatever the market proposition that you would give for Ordinals to be on Litecoin versus Bitcoin, or is there none? I mean, generally, Litecoin, of course, one of the first, if not the first, altcoin out there. But nonetheless, and it's chugged along over the past decade or so quite nicely. Hasn't been the second highest, largest crypto in a while, but nonetheless hasn't been in the bottom 50 either. But what would be the sales proposition here for Ordinals on Litecoin, or for any other project for that matter? What makes Litecoin different than Bitcoin and ETH for that matter?
Yeah, so I think, number one, Litecoin is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies. It was created with a fair launch, meaning that there were no founder tokens, which is really, and it's a decentralized cryptocurrency. These things are really important when it comes to good properties of money. It has a lot of similarities with Bitcoin in terms of fair launch, decentralization, a limited supply. It's also very highly liquid. Unlike Bitcoin, the fees are significantly lower. And we've also, and I'm not sure there'll be time now, but we can talk about, we've added an optional privacy layer, which we believe is one of the things that was missing and very important to sound money. With that said, it's been running now for going on 12 years this year, and it's literally had zero downtime. In fact, it's the longest running uptime in all of crypto. So I think it may not be, when we think of all these new flashy things coming, sending money is not probably as exciting to some people as, art and buying frogs and all these other things. But its reliability has never been better. Its fundamentals have never been better. As I said, it's had zero downtime. It's highly liquid, and it just works. And it's a great, it's one of the best, if not the best, with Bitcoin included, ways to send value across the network. In terms of the proposition, if you're asking regarding actual Ordinals and things like that, I think it's hard to say because it sort of depends on how you look at those things. I mean, I think we're a little bit early to see, to tell what's going to happen here. We've seen arguments on both sides in terms of what Ordinals on Bitcoin. I think we can apply those same types of things on Litecoin. I mean, arguments meaning that it's sort of moving away from the original intention of what Bitcoin or Litecoin was supposed to be. It could potentially clutter up, and in Bitcoin's case, we've seen it clutter up the blockchain. It can potentially reduce fungibility. On the positives, though, it helps increase fees, incentivizes miners, and this could be important as the mining rewards continue to get cut in half over time. It also helps to bring in a new wave of users and adoption. So, it's sort of hard to see there, but the value proposition on whatever's being done on top of Litecoin, I think the interest in Litecoin is that it's reliable, it's highly liquid, and it continues to grow. And
Alan, I'm curious to hear what your outlook is. You know, there's a lot of buzz around Bitcoin. You mentioned it just now. Litecoin forked from Bitcoin in 2011. What do you think the future looks like for Bitcoin? And do you think that Litecoin has a similar future?
I think that the future with Bitcoin is great. You know, I think it's going to be, you know, it's a dominant cryptocurrency, and I think it will continue to be so and grow. I think that the future of Litecoin has never been better. It's also similar along those lines. The fundamentals have never been stronger. If we look past the ordinal craze right now, and just, you know, over the last few years, the trend in terms of like transactions, unique to and froms, the value being sent over Litecoin continues to grow. In fact, the value, for example, a few years back was in the tens of thousands. We're now seeing about $1 billion being sent in US dollars across the network each day. If you look at that trend over the last few years, it's not only grown, but it's grown against even coins like Bitcoin, where in some cases Bitcoin is sort of leveled off or been a little bit, you know, more flatlined. Litecoin continues to grow. So while Litecoin still has a much lower user base than Bitcoin, if you look at the fundamentals, price aside, they've really never been stronger. And we're seeing it's just more of a slow and steady process with Litecoin, but everything indicates it's moving in the right direction. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about the valuation of your fund today versus a year ago?
You mean as far as the price
foundation
goes? Or?
Sorry, I said the fund, but the foundation.
Sure. Yeah, what we do, or is that what your question was? Yeah. Well, Litecoin Foundation, we're a nonprofit organization. Our mission is basically to advance the Litecoin ecosystem through, and cryptocurrency in general. And we do that through things like education, research and development, information, resources, and a lot of community support. So we have initiatives like the wallet development, Lightning Network partnerships we work on, and we just recently, over the last year, launched MWeb, which is a privacy layer on top of Litecoin, which we believe is extremely important to money because it offers basically an optional layer of privacy on top of Litecoin that up until now has really been lacking in cryptocurrency, but is still being offered in traditional finance, meaning that when you now have the option to use Litecoin, where it will potentially conceal the to and from addresses and amount being sent. And you know, these are important elements in terms of like fungibility and helping to protect and safeguard individuals and businesses and finances. And these are the same types of things you get like when you go to a store and pay with a credit card or something else. Nobody knows how much is in your bank account, nor should they. These are the types of things we believe should also be applied, you know, when it comes to cryptocurrency. And with, as you know, with a public ledger, a lot of times that information could be tracked. So what we've done is we've sort of added this one thing we felt was missing with Sound Money. It's an optional feature for those that would like to use that when it makes sense to use it. And you know, this affords additional privacy and ensures that some of the information related to your own finances is not available to unauthorized parties.
All right, so I got to ask, you know, what do you think, and this kind of gets back to my earlier question, but what do you think is the reason why Litecoin hasn't had that kind of buzz, if you will? I mean, you guys are having a halving coming up in August, and of course, Bitcoin has a halving, and you think it's, I don't know, like Halley's Comet, people are going crazy over it. Litecoin isn't necessarily generating that sort of buzz, you would say, in the media, on Twitter, whatever. What do you think is wrong, if you will, with why that doesn't exist?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I don't think it's I don't necessarily think it's wrong as much as that it's not. Like when we talk about sending money, like Litecoin was built to be better money. You know, the idea is with Litecoin is to become the best money available. You know, sound money, sending money, for example, in itself is not nearly as exciting as some of these other things. And we've seen a lot of Well, for one thing, we've seen a lot of new things coming. Some things stick and some things come and go, and they're flashier, and they grab the attention of a lot of people. Also, I think a lot of people are looking to chase the next greatest thing in hopes of making a quick dollar, a 20x, a 50x, or what have you. And that's not really ever been Litecoin's proposition. Litecoin was all about creating having properties and fundamentals of really good money. And our goal has been to grow adoption worldwide so that people can send value to each other in an inexpensive and very safe way. And I don't know if that's I think it gets overlooked as new things come. But what I see happening is some of those things, while they get exciting initially, a lot of those things sort of come and go. And meanwhile, Litecoin, here we are, going on 12 years, has still keeps ticking along, and the metrics continue to show growth. It's just a slower and steadier, I believe I'll use the slow and steady wins the race type thing, where it's sort of the underdog, and it's even though it's right in front of everybody, I think there are other things that are sort of, distracting and catching people's attention, catching the attention of people. So.
Alan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was Litecoin Foundation Managing Director Alan Austin.